Okay, here we go. Quick practices, grade 3, unit 4. Let's talk about the progression. So, for the first 8 lessons in this unit, there was not a specific quick practice outlined by math expressions. The goal was that students used or teachers used whatever needed to be practiced for those 8 lessons. You can still choose to do that. If you choose to download my slides, I've already embedded some quick practices for you based on experience with 3rd grade. So, the first thing we did is we embedded those focus on fluency slides, knowing that our students are still not completely mastered on their math facts. If you're in the Math Genius Squad, our Math Expressions membership for Math Expressions users, then you know that we've already outlined all of your facts unit by unit and what you're choosing to master. So although you're working on multiplication, division in unit 1 and 2, of course, we're working on a lot of strategy, understanding just the concept of multiplication, division, lots of story problems, lots of modeling. But it's going to take us more time than just 2 units to truly master those math facts. So in this unit, our focus is on the eights. So for those first 8 lessons, we've embedded the same type of quick practice you did way back in unit 1 and 2, but we've now made it where they're practicing their count bys. They're going to practice their let's move this here, multiplication of eights and their division of eights. So they'll practice their count bys 8, 16, right? Going all the way from starting at 1 all the way to 10. Then they're going to practice their multiplications where we say 6 times 8. Everyone thinks about it. The student leader gives a signal, 48. You're going to hear the 48, 48, 48, right? Not everyone's going to have that fact, but this is when we then now practice the strategy. So yes, could we do 6 groups of 8 and do our 8, 16, 24? Of course we can. But now we want to use that 5 shortcut that we learned in unit 2. And so we want to say, I don't know 6 groups of 8, but I know 5 groups of 8 is 40. Count on another one, 48. 8 times 8. I put up 8 fingers. I don't know 8 groups of 8, but 5 groups of 8 is 40. Keep going, 48, and we keep counting up 7 groups of 8, etc., until we get to that target number. So you'll do that for multiplications. You'll also do it for division, where we just say 48 divided by 8. Kids think about it. 6. If they don't know, we say use the 5 shortcut. So I know if I did at least do 8 times 5, I get to 40. Keep counting by 8s till you get to 48. 48. What's my answer, everyone? 6. So we're rehearsing those 8 still, as most students still will need practice with that. This is the choral response piece. Now, in addition to that, I've also added in a rounding frame so that students can continue to practice their rounding that they have done in previous units. We know that this is a tough skill. It is a new skill for 3rd graders. So in this case, the student leader would say round to the nearest 10. What 10 are we on? And let's get our pointer here. So in this case, if we said, well, what 10 are we on? And the students would say 14 tens, which is 140. So the student leader can write it on the board like this. What 10 would come next? And students would say 150 or 15 tens. Both of them are accurate, and both of them are going to help students to not forget that 100. We don't just put 50, we put 15 tens or 150. What number would be halfway? Think about it. Class, and students would say 145. Boys and girls, clap when I get to 147. Then we move along the number line and students would clap. Boys and girls, what number does 147 round to? Think about it. Class, and of course the whole class would say 150. We know 147 rounds to 150. Now, they would continue to do that same thing when you get to another rounding slide where now we're talking about rounding to the nearest 100. Let's get to one. There we go. We have one in here. There we go. So if I round to the nearest 100, 369. What 100 am I on? 300. What 100 could I be on next? 400. What's halfway? 350. Clap when you think I get to 369. Okay, so you're just rehearsing, again, these skills that students just may not have solid. If you don't need to practice rounding, you can skip these slides. You're just going to practice something that students need a lot of repetition with. I know that they're going to need repetition with their math facts. Now, you're going to run into slides that look like this from the Math Genius Squad, where this is the partner routine they learned in Unit 1 and 2. And so there are days where there are no other slides put there. This is the only thing that's put there for our Math Genius Squad members to remind them today students need to go through the whole partner routine. writing their equations, doing a quick check with a partner, maybe getting assessed by the teacher. But we know that if we're going to build that partner routine in after Unit 2, it has to take the place of something. In this case, it's going to take the place of quick practice for that day. So we want to get kids in, get them started right away. Remember, it should be altogether a 7 to 10 minute routine. So we're already eating up another 5 minutes of time, whereas normally quick practice should only be 5 minutes. Now, as you get to lesson 9, things change just a bit. And now we go into the actual quick practice for Unit 4, which is telling time. So students are going to use their paper clocks, what other clocks they have. Again, we prefer the paper clocks they already made over like a Judy clock. A Judy clock automatically moves those hands where they're supposed to go. And in this case, we're wanting students to know where that hand would move. So the student leader would give all of these prompts while the students in class would have their paper clocks in front of them. So the student leader would say, boys and girls, that hour hand is at 12 for now. The minute hand is at 15 minutes after the hour. Now show me where you would move the hour hand to show 12:15. So in this case, students are just following along. Boys and girls, the hour hand is at 12. Everyone does it. Boys and girls, and the minute hand is at 15. Everyone does it. So they can say, show me. Everyone shows them 12:15 or 15 minutes after. Now show me where the hour hand would need to go. So we're trying to decide, like, does this hour hand need to move a little bit, halfway, or more than halfway towards the 1? So students will all show on their clock. The student leader would have them show it, and they'd say class, and everyone would say a little bit, halfway, or close to 1. In this case, they're going to say halfway. Okay, so, or excuse me, a little bit. Then we're going to say, is this time a quarter past, a half past, or 3/4 past? And the class would think about it. The student leader would say class, and the whole class would say a quarter past. So you can move these if you'd like. You can reveal them if you want to put them on animation, or you can just have students say it. It's up to you whether or not you're using a smartboard, you're in edit mode, or full screen mode with these slides. So every day you'll do a slide like this. Then you'll say, now students put the hour hand at the 12. Again, the student leader is just reading this right off the slide. Move the minute hand and use your 5 divisions to show 10 minutes after the hour. Okay, so if I'm thinking to myself 10 minutes after the hour, and I use my divisions, and I know we're moving by 5s, 10 divided by 5 equals 2. So that minute hand should move to the 2. So in this case, I'm going to take my pointer and I'm going to write my minute hand would point to the 2. So where would it move? And the student leader would ask the class. We can move this. 10 is 2, 5. So the minute hand points to 2. I like just making it really simple. 10 divided by 5, 2. Class, where should the minute hand be? 2. Okay, now the student leader would type in the time. Now show where you would move the hour hand. Did you move it a little bit, halfway, or close to 1? Student leaders would say it. The student leader would ask for it. Now we move on. So again, every time, a little bit, halfway, like where would that time move to if we were at 12 o'clock for the hour and we were at the 2 or the 10 minutes for the minute? In this case, we would only move a little bit. So here's where the minute hand is. This hour hand would only move a little bit. So they're asking, oh, there we go. They're asking those questions. Now, if you want to use a real clock to do this and not the slide, it's going to be easier. Student leaders should have their own clocks. We just have the slide for those of you who at one point were working digitally or virtually with students, or maybe you have a smartboard and it's easy for them to move that hour hand or minute hand on the clock. Totally up to you. You do what's best for your class. We just want them to rehearse these ideas over and over. Now we have the very last slide for telling time, which is now let's tell time as minutes before the hour. So class, what time is it? 12:56. We have to add up to 60. I'm going to point to the digital clock. You say how many minutes before the hour. So 12:56. Think about it. Class, the whole class would say 4 minutes before 1. Class, think about it. Class, 7 minutes before 1. Okay, so every time we read the time, we say how many minutes to make the hour. Oh, sorry, in that case, we would have been 17 minutes before 1. Okay, same thing here. So they would continue to work on that. Now I've embedded those fluency slides again because we are working on time, but we still want students to have ample time to continue to practice those math facts and to get their 8th passed in this unit. So when you see this slide, you're not going to do the regular quick practice, you'll just do that partner routine. If you have additional time, there are clock times there that are hidden by the slides. So my friends, that's what you're practicing in this unit. You're getting good at telling time, how many minutes past the hour, where that hour hand moves to. This is going to turn into elapsed time in just another unit where students will start to practice elapsed time. And then they're practicing rounding and they're practicing those math facts. We'll see you online.